James. I'm a Sitecore architect with Alpha Solutions US. My little background on me, I've been doing Sitecore work for about 10 years, back to version 5.0 back in 2007. But most recently, I've been working with the Print Experience Manager, which is actually really cool. Thought I'd come out to the conference and share some of what I've been messing with you guys. Maybe start with a little introduction to PXM if anyone isn't familiar. Can you hear me okay? If anyone isn't familiar with the product, PXM itself stands for the Print Experience Manager. It also used to be known as the Adaptive Print Studio, or APS. You may have heard it called that before. At the most basic level, PXM really just makes it easy to reuse your web content in your print material, like brochures or catalogs or whatnot. Essentially, you can just drag and drop content from your Sitecore content tree into Adobe InDesign, so that once you've made that link, your content will stay in sync with Sitecore and your print materials. And that all by itself is a really big benefit. It really lets you use Sitecore as your master source of content. You don't have to maintain your copy in multiple places. Your designers don't have to copy and paste stuff from your website into the print materials every time something changes and so on. It's also possible for a designer working in InDesign to actually make edits to your Sitecore content from within InDesign. I can see where some people might not want to do that. It's really easy to enable and disable that. You can even actually control security to it within Sitecore, because the user, when you log into Sitecore from within InDesign, it's just like logging in from a web page. So you've got that same user account. You can control security. Let's see, another really cool use for PXM is dynamic generation of content, like downloadable PDFs on your website. Things like product catalogs or a wish list or something like that. You can actually apply Sitecore personalization to that as well. So any of the data that you've collected on your website about a user, you can leverage that for providing personalized print materials for them as well. It's really nice because it lets you take advantage of the design capabilities of InDesign to produce a printable version of your website, basically. So instead of having I'm sure everyone's familiar with the print version of a web page. It's typically just a stripped down, under formatted version of the site. With this, you can use InDesign design capabilities to make something that's a lot prettier. One other thing that PXM does for you, it actually stores all of your projects in Sitecore as Sitecore items. That actually gives you the option to apply Sitecore security, workflow, versioning, all of that kind of stuff to your print projects, which is really huge. And it's because those items are within Sitecore. You can also edit them in Sitecore as Sitecore items. I can take a look at that with you. Probably wouldn't do that, but that capability is there. From an architectural perspective, this slide is really simplified. PXM is a really complex product, but this kind of gives us a high-level overview. Really, the first thing you'll notice when you're installing PXM is the actual Sitecore package, and this installs like any other Sitecore package. Has stuff in it like the data templates that are the items that store your PXM data in. It has templates for your settings. PXM has a lot of configurability within Sitecore. There's actually a new field type that gets added by that package as well for QR codes. So if you want to print, QR codes, if anyone still uses those, on your print materials. And then there's also a web service that gets installed that's actually the layer that allows InDesign to communicate back with Sitecore. On the actual InDesign machine, the client machine, there's a plugin that you install that allows, that provides the UI within InDesign that talks to Sitecore. So that's where the two pieces fit together. There's also, for InDesign Server, there's a similar plugin that provides that link to InDesign Server. And if you don't know what really you would use that for, it's automation. You can have things, like one of the examples I remember seeing was like a workflow action that would automatically, when you make changes to a page, it would automatically generate a PDF version of that page and check it into your media library. There's also, there are a lot of other pieces to PXM. I listed off a few of them here. There's a bunch of Windows services that get installed. There's an online document generator. There's a rendition builder. All of those pieces are pretty complicated. I'm not going to try and show you how that's all installed or anything today, but if you want to try and set all this up, there's an installation guide available on dev.sitecore.net. But there's also Mark Dimony with Sitecore provided a really good video that kind of details the whole installation process and how everything works, and kind of so you can see what it looks like. There's a link here on my slide. I think they're going to make all of our slides available for download sometime after the conference. So if you, I don't know if you can read that. If you can't read it, you'll be able to get it later, or come up and ask me and I can give you the link. So I would like to get on to some demo. I guess I'll start just by showing kind of how you can reuse, how easy it is to reuse Sitecore content in InDesign. And in order to do that, I want to show you this website that I built specifically for the conference. Let's see if I can put this up here. All right, so whoops. Welcome to the SUGCON Bar and Grill. Let's see here. There's so give me a second here. All right. Well, this is just a simple little site that I built to give me some content to use in the demo. But if we look around a little bit here, I'm sure you'll recognize some of the names for my drinks and things. I'm not a designer, so this site is not particularly pretty, but the point of it is just to have the content in there. I have a menu page that lists off my food and drinks. I have an About Us page. This is a little bit of rich text here. It's mainly just to have some content that I can show pulling into PXM. So let's say I wanted to take this menu that I have, and I wanted to make a print version of this, so I could have menus out on the bar, or out on the tables in my bar or something. What I'd probably start with is just having a designer jump into InDesign and come up with something that looks nice for me. So they wouldn't necessarily be a Sitecore developer or anything, know anything about Sitecore. They'd just be probably a designer. For me, I didn't have a designer available, so I also did the InDesign work. Let me show you kind of what I came up with on that. I remember where I stashed it. Here it is. So this might be what would come out of working with a designer. This isn't necessarily my menu. You can see these are not the same items that I have on the website, but they are all laid out nicely, I guess. I'm, again, not a designer. So if you look here, we've got, there's some specific elements I want to show off here. Each one of these pieces of text has a unique font size and layout. These are all stored in these paragraph styles. This is part of InDesign. That's how it kind of stores its styling information. You can see section headings, menu items, and so on. If I flip back to the back side of my menu, there's that rich text that I showed up earlier. If I click into that, you can see there's a couple of styles applied there as well, body there and body bullets here. So that's kind of an overview of that. Now, for some, for a real bar, this might actually be just fine. But let's say, for sake of argument, that I actually want to use Sitecore as my system of record for my menu, so I don't have to go back into InDesign and update this every time something changes. If I notice I forgot to put prices on my mock menu here. But for example, pricing might change, and I wouldn't want to have to come in here and update all my pricing all the time. I could just load this, print the current version of it, and the new pricing would come over from Sitecore. Let's say that's how I want to do it. So let me go in, log into Sitecore and show you. Actually, I'm already logged in. Oh no, from InDesign. Log in. I'm already logged in here as well. I'll log off. So this is how the login process works. It's very simple. Username, password, and you can have multiple Sitecore sites available. I only have this one entered in here. But that's it. Once you log into Sitecore, on this content tab here, you can see this is the actual content tree for my website. So it just pulls it in just like what you would expect to see from Sitecore. If I come down here and click on one of my menu items, there's actually each of the sections of fields on that item appear down here. So you can see there's this one's a single line text, this one's a multi-line, and this is an image. There's some other pieces here that you can see from Sitecore, this familiar workbox. I don't actually have any workflow on my website, but if I had workflow, you can see items in the workbox here. There's a media tab where you can access the media library and drag and drop images from your Sitecore media library into your InDesign project. And then there's this libraries tab, and this is the main place that I'll be today. There's one main thing I want to talk about in here, I guess, is the master documents. These are, the naming is interesting. I don't know if you've used Sitecore as long as I have. Back in previous to 6.0, there was this concept of masters, and it's kind of what standard templates are now, or kind of a combination of standard templates and branch templates. But it gives you basically a template for creating a new item. So if I load this master that I have here real quick, you'll see it's basically just an empty version of the menu. It has a front page and a back page, but there's no content on it. So that's kind of what the purpose of those masters are. But the main thing is that the styles, all of these, the section heading, the menu item, the item description, all of those still exist in the master. So if I start dragging new content onto this thing, I can still apply all of my styles that the designer gave me. So let me go ahead and create a PXM project off of this. You do that in this libraries window by hitting the little plus there. We'll just call this demo project, I guess. And in order to open that in InDesign, let me close a couple of these windows that I have open here. You just drag it and drop it onto this projects window. There's something that's important to know with InDesign. All of your files, your projects, are organized into one or more documents. So I actually have to create a document here. It doesn't really matter what I name it. And then each document also can have one or more pages. In my case, I have a front page and a back page, so I'll just go ahead and create those. And then once I have at least one page existing, I can load this project. Oh, oops, one thing I forgot to do. You notice that came up blank. I need to apply this master. By default, you'll notice it says my document is using the default master. I want it to use my menu master. Now if I load, it comes in with that master. So here it is, but now I've actually, all of this structure for the InDesign, rather than being saved in an InDesign file on disk, it's saving it as a tree of items in Sitecore, which I'll show you in a minute. But before that, I want to show you how easy it is to actually get content from Sitecore onto your InDesign project. So I can go back to this content tab, and so I've selected, I'm trying to remember what I was going to use for my demo here. First, let me drag out a a heading here. We'll try and replicate the design that I had. We'll apply the section heading to style to that. Jump back to content. Now, all I have to do is just drag and drop this stuff. So if I want to put the name of that product on here, I can just drag and drop it over. I can apply my, sorry, this screen size is a little smaller than what I was working with before. I can apply my menu item style to it, drag it over here. Just content, I'll drop my description over, apply the description style. This is pretty small on the screen, I realize. Let's see if I can zoom that up a little bit for you. Anyways, I'm not going to try and get this perfect. I actually have a completed version of this I want to show. But basically, the point of this is, I'm going to zoom back out again for this image. It's really easy. It really is just drag and drop to get your content from Sitecore moved over into the InDesign project. Whoops, I'm going to keep that square. Images are a little bit tricky to deal with in InDesign if you guys haven't ever used InDesign before. Probably, I'm not an expert at it. There's probably an easier way to do this, but oops. To move the whole frame, not just the image. Thank you. So, anyways, this is a tedious process. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to show here. Oh yeah. So how that actually gets saved. These items. If I select all of them and drag and drop them onto my page in the project, it'll go ahead and create Sitecore items for all of those as well. So you see this tree fills out. There's the text frame there. Sorry, this is hard to see with all these windows open. The text frame there, there's the name, there's the description. And it also, it stores, and I'll show you in a minute how it stores the link back to Sitecore for these things so it can keep the content updated. Oh, one other thing I guess I can show real quick is I mentioned that you can edit this content in InDesign. I'll show you how that works. You just click it and edit it like you would any other text on your InDesign. And then when you click, let's see, that was the name, save over here, there's a checkbox on this dialog that says save content. So saving layout will save all of the where you've dragged it, what size you've made it, what styles you've applied to it, but it doesn't save the content unless you check this checkbox. If you do check this checkbox, it will save that content, the actual content change back to the Sitecore database. You can, like I said earlier, you can actually disable this completely so you don't have anyone ever making edits this way. I'm actually not sure if this sends it through workflow or not, so that might be one reason why you would disable that. You can also have this limited based on Sitecore security. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm just going to go ahead and load the, give me a second and I'll copy over that completed version so we can take a look at it. To my libraries window, and if I refresh here, see that I have another project here I can open. So if I load that in, see it pulls all of my content in from Sitecore. Can't really see the details here very well on this screen. I have my John West, I have my Mike Shaw, and so on. And then I have my various foods here. I'm really proud of unicorns and rainbows. I know that Cam is doing that presentation right now alongside mine, but I thought that was cute. So anyways, that's basically it. That's all there is to just pulling over content from Sitecore and putting it into an InDesign. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I was covering that later. I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, I'm a developer and I really get excited about. Let's see here. I have to find my spot again. Customizing. That's what I'm really interested in. It's like, what can I do to extend the product for my clients or for my company? As usual with Sitecore products, PXM is very extensible. There's lots of places that we can change it. I'm going to show you a few of those. Let's see here. Before I do that, I'll kind of talk about these are a few things here that I'm going to show. I want to show you how InDesign projects actually get stored in Sitecore. We talked a little bit about that. You could see the tree in InDesign. I'm going to show that in Sitecore. And then we'll take a look at how the Sitecore content actually gets translated back into InDesign. So it's a two-way street. What that actual transformation that happens to the content, how that works. There's also an XML viewer module that we're going to take a look at. It's really useful if you're doing any customizing of PXM because it lets you debug your output. And it's also kind of gives us an eye into how that transformation takes place. Obviously, it's an XML transform. This code for this XML viewer module is actually available up on GitHub, and I'll show a link for that at the end of my presentation. So it's not part of the PXM itself, but it's something I think everyone that's working with it should probably have installed. And then there's one last thing that's kind of tricky about PXM, which is rich text transformations. I did show on my menu there's some rich text on the back side there, and that because it's a single frame, but it has multiple styles within it. It's actually we'll see how that works in a minute, but it basically transforms each of those HTML elements in different ways, and I'll show you how that's all configured and extended. So I'll show off. I guess I'll go ahead and show off how that content moves back and forth. I'll show some of the kind of customization points. I can't really go into a whole lot of detail in this presentation, but at least it'll give you some ideas, kind of where to start looking. Let me get back into my desktop, and we'll go look at Sitecore first. So Sitecore or PXM adds this Print Studio folder to your content tree. And if I open this up, I'm timed out. If I open this up, you'll see it actually looks just like what we were seeing in InDesign. There's a layer for your books, there's for your document, here's your pages, there's my front page. And then here are all of those individual frames that I added. If I look at one of these items, like this name item here, fold up some of this stuff here. Here's where all of those attributes from InDesign get stored. So the X and Y position of that frame on the layout, the width and height of the box, so on and so forth. So this is everything that's needed in order to pass this thing back to InDesign. Because remember, instead of saving to a file on the file system, we're saving all of this in the Sitecore database. So all that information that would normally be stored with an InDesign file is now in Sitecore. And that's what I mentioned earlier. You can actually come in here and edit this stuff directly if you wanted to. And your code, you can of course have code applying to this as well, so that you can change things and make it show up differently within InDesign. This is, in this items section here, this is where the actual item references occur. So if I look at this particular name, I know this is the name field from the John West item in my menu. If I come down here and look at, say, like this description or this image, this one is from the experience item, the image from that field from that item that's being tied. So that's kind of how it how these items get tied between the Sitecore or source content and what is going to appear, what content's going to appear in InDesign. I talked a little bit about the XML viewer tab a little bit ago. Let me show one of these names. So this is that XML viewer module that I was mentioning. You can see the actual XML that's going to be sent from Sitecore over to InDesign. So this text frame has all of those attributes that we were just looking at in it. Within that frame, there's a paragraph style. This is how the style is actually stored, the style that I'm using, menu item for the names. And then the actual content that gets pulled from the name on the source Sitecore item gets stuck in here as well. And the way that actually gets produced, that XML, comes from another window here. In this section, there's this XML renderer. This is one of the extension points. You can actually replace this with your own code if you need to. But I'm not going to show that right now, but that is one of the places that you can change it. And there's actually several stock one's for images, one's for various different things. So I guess I'll show you the little wrinkle that comes into play with rich text content. I go back to InDesign here. I'll show you kind of what, close all of these, show you what happens. Oh, I do want to reopen that. I did not have a back page, so I'll create a back page for it. Flip over to that. So I'll show you kind of, if I wanted to make this About Us page, like I had on my original design. I would go to my About page in the content tree, bring this down. I've got my body field I can drag and drop out, and immediately you're going to notice it looks empty. It's actually because there's no styling applied to this at all initially. So there is text in here. If I click in it and select, you can actually see there is text, or if I go, I can quickly apply the body style to it and it'll get it at least visible. What I really want though is I want these paragraphs to use the body style. I want these to be using the bullets style. And I would really, ideally, if this is going to be automated, I don't want to have to come into InDesign every time and reapply those things. So there is a way to actually control the styles that are applied to rich text transformations. Phone was going off. So I guess I'll go look at Sitecore real quick. We can see what this XML looks like, and you'll see why the content isn't coming across right. Actually, I need to save this into my. That's there. Save this into my design real quick. So that will make it appear within Sitecore. Here's my back page. Here's that's the text frame for static text that I have on there, and then this is my item from Sitecore. You can see it's the sourced is the body field on my About item. So if I look at the XML viewer for this, it's really quick. It'll become clear why this isn't showing up right. My text frame is there, but each of these paragraph styles have the wrong style applied. This one's looking for something called a normal paragraph style, and this one's looking for something called bullets 1. And I don't have styles by those names in my InDesign document. That's not unusual. A designer is probably going to use whatever names they want to use, whatever their naming convention is for styles. So there's really need to be able to remap these. And it is actually possible to make sure I don't skip something here. It is possible to override these. I'm going to show where that is in the PXM configuration here real quick. It's under so we'll ignore this custom transformation for just a second. I'll show you where the stock stuff goes. So under the content tree right here, there's a list of elements. We'll look at a paragraph, for example. It's really simple. It takes this HTML element name, which in this case is a p tag, and transforms it into this XML style. So this is where any p tag is going to get converted to a paragraph style in the XML. And then there's also child items of this that basically represent attributes on that XML element. So style, this is where the normal paragraph style is coming from. It's actually saying put a attribute named style on that XML element, and this is the value that I want to use as normal paragraph style. So what I could do to fix this is just edit this in place. Just change this from normal paragraph style to body, I think is what my style is. But if I did that, it would apply to all anything using the default transformation. So really the right solution here is to create a custom transform. Basically all I did was create a folder here, create a new P element. Again, it's basically a copy of the other one. It's just taking P elements and changing them to paragraph styles, but where I made my change is right here. And then I also did for LI tags, because you notice those bullets that I had before were not being styled properly. I created one that will map it to this body bullets style that I have in my InDesign project. So I don't have time to show you kind of the whole process of how this is built out, but essentially it boils down to you create these items, this element and this attribute, and you create your custom list, and then you have this thing called a transformation set, which just is a collection of these elements that you want to apply to a certain field or a certain document. So what I've done is I just took a copy of the default set, and in this list I removed their P and LIs and replaced them with my own from this custom folder here. So that's all this really is. And then if I go back and look at that body, all I have to do is actually change this to use my transformation set. And now when we look at the XML, you'll see now I'm actually getting the proper styles in here. And also, if I go back to InDesign, we'll reload this document. And now you can see the styles are there correct, as they should be. So it's pretty cool. And that's another one of those places where you can extend what's going on within PXM. There's actually custom parsers and things in here, the types that you can provide a custom type in here if you want to do something completely out of the box. Let's see if I have any other things to say about that. Sorry, I lost my place. Oh yeah. All right. I guess, well, that's basically all I had to say about the rich text, but I do want to show kind of one of the big limitations of what we've done up until now, and I'll give you a solution for that. So if I flip back to the front page here, one of the big things that's kind of an issue here is that all of these are still individual elements. If I try to move some of this stuff around, it's just like anything in InDesign. They're all individually placed, and they don't stay in one place. Another thing that you probably may have already thought of is if I add a new menu item, I still have to come back in here and drag and drop it back on, or if I remove an item from my menu, I might have a hole in my menu here where that thing used to be taking up this middle space on my document, and now that it doesn't exist anymore. So what happens with all that? And that's a good place to show you kind of how we can extend PXM to automate some of that. Let's see, I guess we'll go look at, well, I need to copy over my my project that has this solution fixed, and then I'll take a look at it. So let me refresh my library view here, and I have another project ready. If I load that up. So this looks basically just like what we were just looking at, but the big difference is now everything is in this, each one has their own little frame that's contained within it. Now each one of these individual elements still exist within the bigger frame, so I can still individually apply styles and things if I need to. The important thing is this is actually all dynamically being populated, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Let's see. I can actually move, I'll show you, I can move all of these around as one item now. Yeah, that's not really, you can't really tell that this is being built on the fly right here, but I'll go into Sitecore and show you kind of from the XML perspective how that stuff is working. I go in here and refresh my projects. So here's the one that I just copied in. And if I drill down, let's see here, you can see I actually have this food menu. Look at the XML for this. Now you can see that there's an individual text frame for each item on the menu. And here's the you know, the experience is in there. See here's my cheeseburger, waffles, and so on. So each one of these items appears in this XML. It's actually iterating through all of them. But if you look down here, if I drill on down into this, you'll notice that I actually only have the definitions for one item here. So basically I built out one item within that bigger text frame, brought it in, and then used this tool called an XML repeater to repeat over a list of items. XML repeater is not something that comes with PXM out of the box, but it's actually really simple. I guess we can take a look at the code for that real quick, just for those that might be curious. It's basically just a class that inherits from the base InDesign item renderer class. It has basically two important things. There's quite a bit of code in here, but the two most important things that it does, oh, I want to show this in Sitecore too. There's an item selector field here that basically defines a query. You can see it passes that into a select items call, which gets back a list of you know, whatever matching items that you're querying. And then down here in this render content override, it essentially just loops through all of those items that it found with the query and calls render children, passing each one of those into this print context without going into way too much detail. That's basically what's going on in here. It's relatively simple code if you actually read over it. And this is also available up on GitHub if you guys want to get access to that. It's definitely a really useful little addition. Let's see, let's look at this in Sitecore real quick as well. So if I look on here, there's this XML renderer. This is really just it's an XML repeater. I created a custom template for it, but the important thing is that this type is specified, and there's a renderer's library under libraries here that we can look at. That's where that's defined, and all it is just my type. So this is the actual class that I have implemented in my Visual Studio project we were just looking at. So I guess that's pretty much all I had on the repeater. Oh, actually, maybe about all I have content-wise. Let's see here. I guess this is about it. I don't have anything else prepared. Let me jump back to my presentation here. Yeah, moving through this. So I guess if anybody has any questions for me, or if you're actually interested in talking about PXM or anything, my contact info is on this slide. I definitely would love to chat with anyone that's interested in using PXM or extending it, or has any questions or ideas or anything. Like I said, I just started working with PXM a little over a month ago myself, so I'm kind of learning it and interested in finding out what ways people might want to use it. If you do tweet me or get on the, I don't know if you know about the Sitecore Slack. It's kind of a new thing that they just set up right before the conference, but there's a bunch of us Sitecore geeks out there. You can get a hold of me there or on Twitter, but I can't guarantee I'll answer immediately, but I do watch it pretty regularly through the day, so I'll try and get back with you as quickly as possible. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer. Like I said, I'm pretty new. I might, anything that you do come up with that I don't know the answer to, I'll probably do the research, and I can do my blog. I don't actually have my blog address up here, but you can take a look for me, Kevin Williams, and I'll try and get the answers up there. I did also talk about some links. Here is the link to, I really encourage everyone that's interested in working with PXM to take a look at this video training series that Mark Dimony did. It's under the Master Sitecore channel, I think, but there's the link if you can't find it. There's several videos out there in that playlist that go into all kinds of different aspects of working with PXM. It's pretty cool. And then the XML viewer module on GitHub, there's a link to that as well. I tried to use a shortened version. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, you should be able to search and find that as well. I have to thank Mark Dimony more than anyone for all of this, because without his videos I would have been lost, and he's also, I think, the main contributor on this XML viewer module, which is awesome. So that's it, I guess. Nope, that's it. My name was Kevin Williams with Alpha Solutions. Thanks for coming. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. Any questions? Yeah.
When you were browsing the items in the InDesign connector, have you tried browsing an item bucket with that?
The question was whether I've tried an item bucket. I have not tried that, but I imagine you would see all of the folders within the tree. I doubt that that's been modified to kind of give you any search capabilities or anything. It's probably one of the areas that they need to look at.
Earlier on, you showed like X and Y with a big number, a big decimal. Is that the layout information on the page of InDesign stored in Sitecore as items?
Yeah. That question was whether that's the InDesign layout information that's actually stored in Sitecore, and it is. They are really odd numbers because they're these big decimal numbers that are kind of meaningless to us. Getting this stuff ready for my presentation, I edited a lot of those things by hand, and if we look at some of the ones that I touched, they're all round numbers because those decimal points don't really seem to matter that much in the grand scheme of laying things out. When you build some of these things, it sometimes is easier for a developer, at least, to lay all of this stuff out with numbers. I know what I'm doing, and I can edit the content directly there in Sitecore and get everything to lay out smooth, rather than trying to go into InDesign and drag everything around. I don't know. That's easier for me. Some people maybe would be easier to lay it out in InDesign.
Do you think there's any, I'll say, future opportunity to just have like an ID for the content itself, like the text, and then all the layout positioning is kind of stored in the InDesign file itself, like not as Sitecore item data?
Well, I mean, you kind of already have that with the master documents. Those I didn't really show it, but those are stored as a file in the media library. So it's an actual InDesign design file that you can open up in InDesign and edit, and you can put whatever static stuff that's not Sitecore related on it. But you can still, it still can store that. So it still has that relationship. So you can still store it in Sitecore. It's pretty neat. I haven't messed with it very much other than going in there and getting my master document tweaked out. I think I showed in the demo, no I didn't show, I was going to show how to create a master document, but it's really easy. You just like creating a project, get a new item, and you put your stuff all in it and hit save, and it saves it to, like I said, to the media library.
Okay. So is there a way where the layout information is master document